My name is Shari Jeffri. I'm a banker by profession, but I'm always fascinated by history for almost 40 over years of my life. I'm the founder of Borneo History, compiling all this information non-stop for the last 20 years. The context, if you talk about context, is all because of one piece of treaty which is dated 1878. But again, because of the involvement of a lot of third parties, it's been blown out of proportion, and it creates stress between Sabah and Malaysia and the Philippines. But the real perpetrator will be the self-proclaimed members of the Sultan of Sulu. Sulu Clan, in a nutshell, is a dispute, family dispute between three people. The Sultanate of Sulu, the Sultanate of Brunei, and another member of the Sultan of Brunei. Sultan of Brunei actually promised Sultan of Sulu, if you actually help us and we won, and we will give you the northeastern part of North Borneo. But the promise is not fulfilled. In order to understand the origins and to gain greater insight of the Sulu Clan, we need to divide the explanation into 5 components. The first component will be the local narrative versus the colonial narrative or international narrative. Number 1 important component will be Sabah narrative. Secondly, you must know the genealogy between the Sultan and the relationship, family relationship between the Sultanate of Brunei, the Sultanate of Sulu, and the indigenous people of Sabah. And who are they actually, how they are related? Because when the Western power come over to Borneo, they do not know how they are related, how this Sultan related to each other. Third, another important component which is very important in understanding the Sulu Clan will be a timeline. A lot of sabahan, they do not know what actually transpired before modern history, 1881. The Chartered Company established the British North Borneo Chartered Company somewhere in 1881, 1882. So our modern history actually cover 1881, 82 until now, which is today. Anything beyond, before 1881, it was not recorded in any history book. For historical fact information, the Brunei actually conquered North Borneo. The Brunei, they attacked North Borneo for 21 times, somewhere in the 14th century. So they acquired the sovereignty of North Borneo somewhere in 14th century. This information not privy to the Western power because they came over somewhere on the 16th century, and the East India Company, they came in the 17th century. This thing happened long way in the past. That's why timeline is very important. Events before 1881 is very important. We must have our timeline, which is in 1660, around 200 years before modern history. We must have primary sources. When we talk history, we cannot just talk history based on our opinion, based on our observation. History must be proven using primary sources. We need to understand the role of the colonial and the Western power. We need also to understand what actually the development, post-colonial development. The other part of the element will be legal understanding how we counter the claim using legal or court avenue. Without these 5 components, your argument about the real sovereignty of North Borneo or Sabah would not stand. There's a lot of argument, people saying that, we never under the Sulu Sultanate, or we not even under the Brunei Sultanate. A lot of denial. People capitalize on that treaty, which is 1878. Before you understand what is the meaning of 1878 treaty between Overbeck and Sulu, you must understand also there is another treaty exists dated 1877 between the Sultan of Brunei and Overbeck. The Sultan of Brunei appointed Overbeck become Maharaja of Sabah, whereas Sultan Sulu only appoint Overbeck as Raja of Sandakan or Bendahara of Sandakan. You can see the distinction here, who can award higher title to an outsider, sovereignty and influence. One thing which is very important also, let everybody know that Sabah actually does not only depend on 1877 treaty or 1878 treaty. We have so many treaty as early as 1821, 1847, and you need to read 1878 treaty together with all those treaty that ever existed that created what we know now, not Borneo. So just using 1878 treaty to counter and claim that not Borneo belong to them is actually not true. What is the feeling of Sabahan about the Sulu Clan? First and foremost, the Kadazan Dusun, Morod, Rungus people, the Pribumi people, they never acknowledge the Sultanate of Sulu and the Sultanate of Brunei. Same goes to the Bajau Sama people. These two community, the Kadazan Dusun plus the Bajau Sama, represent more than 60-70% of Sabah population. The Bajau Sama also never acknowledge the Sultanate of Sulu. As far as international treaty done is without the knowledge of these indigenous people. They were not exposed to all these international treaties done without their knowledge. And then as far as the indigenous people, they consider their territory terra nullius, means no man land. They have their own kingdom, the Kadazan Dusun, which is somewhere in the interior. As far as the coastal region, although the Bajau Sama swear fealty to the Sultan of Brunei, they never swear fealty to the Sultanate of Sulu. They're actually arch enemy. But the beauty of arch enemy and the dynamic of politics, sometimes you are enemy and tomorrow you are a friend. The Madrid Protocol 1885 actually explained that the Spain would not claim not Borneo. The Sultanate of Sulu actually eventually has been dissolved by the Western power. The institution of Sulu Sultanate no longer exists. That annexation alone actually further weakened the Sulu Clan. The British government just being nice, just honoring whatever treaty that they has. They pay larger amount to the Bruneian compared to the Sulu. The will of the people of Sabah supersede the requirement of the Sultan of Sulu. Historically wise, they doesn't have enough evidence and they doesn't have enough proof. The biggest misconception, one will be the 1878 treaty. To me, I want to clarify that that's not the only primary sources. I would say that there are so many other primary sources. We have sufficient evidence saying that Sabah doesn't belong to them. They are only a caretaker. Sabah people already determined their future and they never will ever receive any feudal kingdom as their supreme ruler whatsoever. So we already come to the modern era whereby the power of the people, the voice of the people take precedent against all these historical claims.